You think we should do a musical episode?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Live into your homes. This is about Jeffrey Combs. We are watching all these films and we are seeing all these TV shows. That's how the podcast goes.
Ha-cha-cha-cha. God, I hope I get it. I think he would appreciate that because he's never done a musical, but he has musical theatre energy, I think.
That's a great... Yeah, and I agree. I think that's why he would love that.
Yeah.
I'm upgrading it to love from appreciate.
Which is, I think, probably how I would also describe you, Andy.
I have musical theatre energy.
I think so.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
That's a crazy thing to say.
And I mean that as a compliment.
Yeah, all right.
Because I love musical theatre, so that's a compliment to me.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
I'll take it.
Yeah.
As an insult. Because you're not in control of how your work is received, Lisa. You need to learn that once you say it, once it's out in the world, it's up to the audience to respond. And I am going to cry. No, I think that's a wonderful thing to say, and thank you.
Cancel me, Snowflake.
I'm going to take that as a compliment.
Andy Matthews, welcome to Reanimates.
Thank you. And I don't know if anyone ever welcomes you to Reanimates, but... allow me to be the first to welcome you to Reanimates as well, Lisa.
Oh, thank you. I love to be here. I love to be. It's nice to be anywhere.
I live in an infinite void of pure nothingness, so it's nice to be anywhere.
I live in a liminal space in
between dimensions,
states of being. It's my entire life is I'm either experiencing a Jeffrey Combs vehicle or I am.
Podcasting about it.
Podcasting about it, yes. And when I'm not doing that, I'm in a state of frozen fear. Do
you think of this as a Jeffrey Combs vehicle? Or do you think that this is more of a Jeffrey Combs tow truck? One that drags his vehicles into the... I was going, well, if a tow truck sort of dragged movies out from parking lots and back into the middle of the highway, sort of reverse tow truck.
Okay, yeah. No, I'm just letting you cook on.
What
this
about
one.
an evil tow truck driver who's gone mad and instead of dragging films or indeed cars off the freeway, he drags them onto the freeway, blocking traffic.
Yeah, is that a sketch?
That's a great film for Jeffrey Combs to play. He can play mad tow truck driver. Oh. Why do all the crimes in movies have to be murders?
Yeah, why can't they be fun crimes?
Why can't they be other... Yes, exactly.
Mm-hmm. Okay, what about this? No, I miss Alistair. I'm trying to fill the void by being Alistair.
We all miss Alistair.
We
George
do.
William Tremblay Birchall.
Hello, Alistair, if you're listening. I mean, I assume you're not, but I miss you.
As we speak, I'm going from discombobulated to fully combobulated.
Combobulate.
I'm reaching peak combobulation.
Combobulate your ass, Andy. Before I combobulate it for you.
Combobulate your shit, mate.
So, the project vehicle, if you will, that we are... the car that I am towing into the podcast is a show called Martial Law. And yes, that's a pun, technically. There was a big thing in 90s, early 2000s TV where they loved a pun in a TV show.
But it is spelled Martial, Martial.
That's
right?
a pun.
Which is, well, but it's a pun where the word is spelt exactly the same as in the original saying, martial law. Like we're declaring martial law. That's how that's spelt, Martial.
Oh, I thought martial law was spelled Marshall.
No, that's because there was another TV show called Martial Law, spelt that way, in which she was a lawyer and her surname was Marshall. Right?
Oh.
So that was a pun in which they've changed the spelling. This is a pun which is far more subtle and, I believe, much classier, where they haven't changed the word at all, and maybe they didn't even realise there's a pun, but it's martial because he does martial arts. Now, of course, martial arts refers to the arts of war, which brings it back to the original meaning and maybe also double means that there's almost not a pun there.
But it's also the fact that in the TV show, the main character, who is a Chinese karate cop, his surname is also Law. So,
is it?
Yes.
Oh, okay, so there's a pun on that part of the word as well.
Yes.
The only film that isn't explored from all the permutations of this is a TV show called Martial Arts, where the martial in that one is spelt Marshall, and she is an artist.
Oh, God. That's too many. That's too many puns. That's a hat on a hat.
Well, I'm just saying that, like, in the set of all possible TV shows that could be made with these various different titles, that's the only one that, as far as I'm aware, has not been brought to the screen, and it exists as a film of pure potential. Unlike Martial Law, the film, the show. I'm going to keep calling it a film because I think of it as a work of cinema, up there with the true greats.
So this is a TV show. It's extremely early 2000s. It ran for 2 seasons. This episode that we're covering is episode 20 of season 2. So we're coming in very late.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of stuff that's already been done that we have to just assume has already been covered.
Have you watched or investigated any of that stuff? Are you going to be able to give any context in any way to what we're seeing or talking about here today?
No, I'm going in blind.
Wow. Yeah. Okay, I love it.
I'm basing all of my knowledge of this show on the Wikipedia synopsis.
Okay, so imagine a news podcast done by 2 people with total amnesia. We've watched one episode of the news.
Yep.
I think of the news as episodes, and now we're trying to talk about current affairs with no knowledge of history,
or trying to piece together the day's headlines based on the things that people are tweeting about it.
Yes, which is something that I do.
Well, yeah, of course. What are you going to do? Go to a news website?
No, thank you.
They're boring. So this episode aired in early 2000. It's created by a guy called Carlton Cuse. I'm going to assume that's how you pronounce it. Very prolific dude. Producer and showrunner on all 6 seasons of Lost. Developed the Bates Motel series, and most importantly to me, perhaps, producer of The Adventures of Briscoe County Jr., the much underappreciated Bruce Campbell project.
Oh, I've never heard of it.
It's great. It's Bruce Campbell, and he's a cowboy.
When's it from? What era?
It is from the mid to late 90s, I think.
Right. Okay, so maybe contemporary with Martial Law.
It's a bit more fun, though. Briscoe County is like an out-and-out comedy, and it's Bruce Campbell being terribly charming.
It's a great title.
I mean, look, listeners to this podcast probably already know because there's a huge overlap in Jeffrey Combs and Bruce Campbell fandoms.
Is there? Have they ever done a film together?
Nope. Isn't that sad? Think of the pure potential.
Let's write one.
And says send it in a nice little scented envelope. Hey boys, here's a project
That's right.
for you.
Smell this envelope.
I mean, I guess it would make sense because they don't tend to play the same characters.
Imagine that, but in this film, they are playing the same character.
Well,
they're fused together.
Yep.
To play one person, a sort of a cat dog kind of thing.
Cat dog. Okay, so
it's the cat dog live action feature film.
It's Bruce Combs.
Yes,
it's one word. Yeah, they're stuck together. Brooms. Yeah, that would be amazing. But what do they do? Like, what is their purpose in existence?
Well, they're cat dog. So
okay. What did Cat Dog do?
Cat Dog was trying to find its parents.
Really? That was a premise?
I'm pretty sure that was the arc. Cat Dog.
Yeah, because I always think of like a lot of those Nickelodeon shows and stuff. I don't think of them as having any kind of central premise.
No.
It's just hijinks all the time.
And just a series of quite upsetting images and weird relationship with food. I always found food in those shows to be very upsetting.
Yeah, also, I mean, the Ren and Stimpy sort of effect of like extreme close-ups on really gross things, like a rubber nipple or something. Yeah. Love it. Yeah.
Deeply upsetting.
So the very loose premise of this show, it's basically Rush Hour.
Yeah.
So it's Sammo Law, played by Sammo Hung, who is a Chinese cop and martial arts expert. He goes to LA looking for, I think, his son, and he just ends up working for, I guess, the LAPD.
Yeah.
They're the Los Angeles cops.
Now, in this episode, he is teamed up with Arsenio Hall.
Yes.
Right? Do you know if that was the case in any of the other episodes? Were they always buddies? Season 1, Season 2?
I think Arsenio Hall comes in as his partner at, I think, the end of Season 1 or the start of Season 2.
Sure, okay, great.
Arsenio Hall plays Terrell Parker.
Yeah.
The other main character is Grace Chen, played by Kelly Hu, who's Sammo's kind of protege.
Yep.
There's also another female cop that we meet. I don't know how often she pops up, but she's in there as well.
I think she was kind of the boss of their little agency or something, or she seemed to be in charge of something, maybe. She was the one in the blue top. Sorry to get so technical so early in the podcast.
Yeah.
What was her name? She had a weird name. That actor's name was very strange.
I did write it down, but I can't tell where it is in my notes.
Okay.
it may come
I'm
up. I'm
going to guess it right now, okay? It was something like this. Selman Flu. No.
No.
Waff? Glob. It's something like that.
All right, I'm gonna go with Fleng
Yeah.
Hernandez. We'll see who's closer in a minute when I go and find the notes at some point in my notes, because I've written them in my phone and they all look the same.
Just Fleng. That's the funniest name I've ever heard.
So it's the wiki description for this show is great. It's when American techniques do not work, Samo employs some Chinese cop work to get the job done.
Correct.
Which implies it's martial arts.
Because he was a contemporary of Jackie Chan's, and indeed is a contemporary of Jackie Chan's because he's still alive. And I did a little bit of research of my own.
Wow.
Yeah, you're not the only one who can go to the Wikipedia page for martial law and then realise you've gone to the wrong martial law and then go to the correct martial law.
We've all been there.
Yep. Jackie Chan was originally sort of considered for this role. Mm-hmm. They wanted him to do it. This would have been very early in Jackie's Hollywood career, but also like pretty close to him really kicking big with things like Rush Hour.
Well, Rush Hour came out the same year as it started.
Really?
1998, yes.
Really, there you go. I wonder if we should sort of just talk generally about the show and how it made us feel and what it made us think about television and art in general.
Yeah.
Is that a good place to start?
I think so.
Okay, I hated this. I think this is the worst episode of anything I've ever seen in my life. And it made me realise that when people say we're in a golden age of television right now, they're probably directly comparing it, the things we get to watch on TV now, to this shit.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think you can compare even this to other television at the time, because there was a lot of good television in the late 90s and early 2000s. But this was reasonably successful.
That's
and
the
it's
thing.
Still fucking garbage.
This got 2 seasons, lots of episodes. They wanted to make more, but then apparently there was some contractual thing and Sammo Hung didn't want to do it anymore.
Well, I think Sammo Hung wanted more control over the script because he didn't like how he was written as much in the second series, because he just kind of became this mindless fighting machine, apparently. And also, each episode was coming in at about $2 million. So,
which is crazy to me, because watching this, okay, I would say, like people talk about how much of the money is up on the screen. I reckon like maximum $8 or $9 is on the screen during this episode of television. I mean, it was harder to make things earlier on before we have all the digital technology that we have now. But this looks really bad. It looks really cheap. There is nothing visually interesting happens at any point in the entire show.
The only thing I can think of that would have cost anything more than a $5 would have been, there's one car accident, but it's not even a cool car accident where a car flips or anything. It's literally a limo comes speeding out of a parking garage and crashes into a parked car.
Yes, so I assume that at least one of those cars had $1 million in cash sitting on the passenger seat.
Yeah.
That's the only way they can justify
and they were just
the
like,
cost of this episode.
Whoops. And because a lot of it is just literally like going from one location to another, and each location is really like sparsely furnished and stuff. One of the locations in this episode is like a mostly empty like log cabin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Every scene is shot in basically exactly the same sort of boring mid shot. Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's terrible.
It's all expositional dialogue. Like everyone's just saying what they're doing, like describing like descriptive descriptive
and
subtitles.
Still I didn't really know couldn't follow fully what was going on.
Yeah, well, this episode in particular deals with a crime gang that I think they've dealt with before.
They must have done.
Yeah, and it's, the mechanics of this crime gang are very complicated, as I imagine all crime gangs are.
Well, but it is your classic, we are a sort of almost all-powerful, sort of like Hydra in the Marvel movies or Spectre in James Bond, where this impossibly powerful, terrifying crime cult almost, that has its tentacles in everything. It's called either Scorpio or Scorpion.
Scorpio, yes.
Scorpio, right.
Yeah. But as
imaginatively titled Scorpio.
As all-powerful as Scorpio are, you can apparently just walk into their parties or their homes.
Yes.
As one character does. At one point, one of the characters goes to visit basically like the head of recruitment of this crime gang, and she knocks on the door and he just goes, "It's open," and she walks in. I don't do that in my own house. That could be anyone.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but you're not an all-powerful crime lord. Bearing in mind that if you were, you would probably say no. So what's your answer?
Maybe.
Ah, very well played.
I'll never tell.
See, no wonder you got to the top
with
that.
Yeah. This episode is probably best described by one particularly astute IMDb review, which was, quote, "Dumbest cop show on TV. Only reason to watch it once is smoking hot Kelly Who and then never see it again."
Yeah.
Pretty astute.
I would say this. As well as saying I hated this show and I think it's terrible, Jeffrey Combs is by far the best actor in this
As
show.
Is often the case.
He is absolutely like miles above everyone else. And like watching this, I could not work out why the show existed and who would have made it.
You need content.
So they really wanted to work with Sammo Hung, apparently, I think, or that, he had some heat behind him, and he has a really big CV and is like a sort of a godfather of martial arts films in Hong Kong. And you can tell he's a good martial artist.
Yeah.
But whoever's shooting this and making this TV show does not know how to shoot martial arts scenes and does not know how to make the most of them in the context of something like this.
Yeah. No, they're just shot like dialogue scenes.
Yeah. And also it's funny watching them because the way in which Sammo Hung moves is quite strange. He moves he's quite like a heavy set kind of dude. In fact, I saw that one of the films on his CV, which I watched a clip of, is called Fatty Tiger Skinny Dragon. And this is from early on in his career. I think it might be late 70s or early 80s. Okay. And he is the scene that I watched, he is great in it. He's an amazing fighter. He moves so fast.
Yeah.
Right?
Agile.
Yeah, despite being a sort of a bigger guy. This could be kind of funny, except it's not like in a Jackie Chan movie where he's doing sort of funny fighting and funny things are happening while he's fighting.
Yeah.
And also, his character in the show is one of the most somber and unhappy people I've ever seen on screen.
Very dour, but I think that also comes down to the fact that Sammo Hung had very little English, and he was expected to speak in English in this TV show, which obviously affects his performance.
It's a pretty significant challenge.
Yeah, especially because I read on the wiki it says, Sammo Hung doesn't talk in the show, which is obviously quite shocking. I'm like, no, he talks heaps.
Yeah,
like he doesn't talk
a lot. They're not long sentences.
Yeah, he doesn't do monologues, but he still does talk, and so it does make it all the more noticeable that he can't have the same sort of depth of feeling in his performances because he's, it's his second or third language.
And I also probably can imagine from what you've described about why they didn't do the second season and that sort of thing, or the third season, is that by episode 20 of season 2, if he was unhappy with the writing, he probably was not happy in general. Like he probably just didn't want to be there, and maybe that's coming across in the performance.
I do wonder if the first 5 or 10 episodes of this show of the first season are maybe a bit more fun or interesting.
Yeah.
I doubt it.
Should we talk a bit more about the plot?
I guess so. So this one is one of those episodes where it opens with a previously on, which always annoys me because to me it's like it's wasting time. It's like unless you're doing a recap podcast, you've probably already seen this show, and the previously on is not going to help you because it's going to be talking about people you haven't met.
It's weird. It's weird that you don't like a previously on because you are one of the few people who would watch it completely out of context and probably would really need a previously on. But I respect your opinion nonetheless. I mean,
it helped slightly, but it didn't really help because so much of the dialogue in this show is expositional that they tell you what's happening and they tell you why. They say, oh, I'm doing this because of this. Oh, yes, and that's because you did this previously. Yes, that's right. So the dialogue is very clumsy and explaining like that. The Scorpio gang have, quote, poison cartridges implanted in their pinkies because they would, quote, rather die than be captured.
Yeah, and what they do is they snap their own pinky finger, which breaks the poison cartridge and kills them instantly.
Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of cool. But what I will say is that for like a crime gang that we're supposed to believe is sort of almost impossibly terrifying and powerful, this episode had absolutely no tension or stakes. Like, I didn't feel any investment. And I realize that I'm coming in episode 20 of season 2 of a show I've never seen from 30 years ago. Yeah. But the fact that what they did was they asked us to basically believe Jeffrey Combs's character, who was the only one sort of selling the level of fear that this crime gang
didn't
infused.
He keep going on about it?
And he did go on about it. It felt like they kept somebody off camera kept saying, say something more scary, make him sound more scary.
Really, really, really plug how good they are at fighting and satellites and such.
Satellites.
Yeah.
It did have a lot of like classic 90s tropes were ticked off, because the big thing in here that the Scorpio gang is trying to do is they want to set off an electromagnetic pulse, which it feels like for about 10 years there, every movie had to include an electromagnetic pulse.
Yeah.
Pretty sure the first Sex and the City movie involves an electromagnetic pulse, didn't it?
Yeah, it makes everone horny.
Yeah, that's right.
It sets off everybody's vibrators at the same time. Yeah.
Oh, actually, that's a really good episode.
That would make an amazing horror movie.
Yeah.
Like, cool. Somebody sets off sex toys and the sex toys go crazy and come to life. Get it in the pipeline, gang.
Great. You know who would be great in this film?
Jeffrey Combs.
Cat Dog. He really is the double-ended dildo of animals, isn't he?
I mean, yes, but also yuck. Well, Jeff is actually probably the first person we meet, more or less. Yeah.
My question is, was he in the previous episode of this show? Right. No. So he just shows up, and he is a prisoner, apparently a high-ranking member of this organization, Scorpio, who is the highest-ranking member they've ever captured alive, because they all break their little pinky fingers and kill themselves. They've caught him, and they have cut the poison capsule out of his finger, because he has like a big gash and that's all sewn up. In one of the endless pieces of exposition, points that out.
Hello, everyone. Look at this.
Yes, and this is what's happened.
Well, he's playing Antoine Tremble, which is an insane name for this character. But I'm just going to call him Jeff, because that makes more sense.
Yeah, great. And if Samo gets to keep his first name, why not Jeff?
I was thinking about that, because that's a thing I often notice in films and TV, where a character has the same name as the actor, and I always wonder if that is on purpose. Whether they change it because the actor goes, I don't want to have to play a different character.
Yeah, it's weird. I wonder in this case if it was some sort of cultural thing, or like if this was his first show in America, maybe they were trying to like establish his name as an actor, and so they were like, we'll just use it as the same name in the character. Tina Fey likes to do it with black actors for some reason. I've seen her do that a few times in her shows with like Tracy Jordan, but there's another one as well, I can't remember.
Oh yeah,
where she's done that. And then Terry Crews is Terry in Brooklyn Nine-Nine.
Yeah.
It's a weird one. It does feel like some kind of a branding thing for people who want to like make a name for themselves.
Yeah, but it's like nobody thinks that the actor is really that person. Like I don't look at Terry Crews' character of Brooklyn Nine-Nine and go, that's obviously Terry Crews.
No, but they do say his name a lot on the show, so But then
advertising's all about
Samo
repetition.
It is a kind of unusual name. I've never heard the name before other than this. And so it does really stick out and doesn't sound quite right for a cop in this kind of a context. So personally, I would have gone with a different name.
Yeah, it actually sounds quite Australian.
Samo. Yeah, Samo. There you go.
Yeah, it's what you call your friend who is called Sam.
Yes. Yeah. We make it longer. We like to make an already short name longer for some reason.
Yeah, we like work here. One of the first things we see Arsenio Hall just toss Jeffrey Combs onto this metal table, which is part of a rich pantheon of Jeffrey Combs being tossed around like a little rag doll in his various media.
Is he a little guy?
He's a little guy. Yeah.
So
famously.
If you want an actor you can toss around, get Jeff.
Just absolutely chuck him like a basketball. Yeah. I had someone on the podcast once who referred to him as the cat that is 2 saucers long, which is a very online reference.
Don't know what that means.
If you are on the internet. So as soon as there's a power outage at the prison, that's the aforementioned electromagnetic curse.
Pulse, yeah.
This cop doesn't particularly seem to care, though.
Power failures unlock the cells. I don't know how, but the inmates are out.
Yeah, so he's he's just delivering exposition. He doesn't need to be a good actor, clearly. They go out to the car park. Terrell somehow instinctively knows that his car battery is dead. I don't know much about electricity or science.
Okay.
But I spent a lot of this episode going, but why would a car not work? Completely forgetting that a car has a battery.
Yeah, it does have electrical components.
Yes, it isn't just a motor. Yes.
But then also that's convenient for them because, as is explained in the dialogue, they were trying to put Jeffrey Combs into a 2-person convertible, right?
Yeah.
Jeffrey points this out. He says,
Well, this is sporty, but impractical for a threesome.
Fortunately for them, the car doesn't work anyway, so they don't all have to get in there.
Yeah.
I was kind of looking forward to that scene. I was thinking this will be a moment of levity in what is already, I can tell, going to be a tough watch.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, we didn't get to see that. Instead, the car doesn't start and they walk off into the woods.
They do walk off into the conveniently placed woods. I wouldn't have thought it'd be a good idea to build your prison amongst a very, very deep, dense woodland. Seems like it's asking for escapees.
I would have put it in the childcare district.
I would have put it in the middle of New York City.
I would have put it in the hacksaw and file.
I would have put it in the
suburb.
The bear trap capital of the city.
Oh, okay. I would have put it in the underground tunnel, on top of the underground tunnel testing area. Yes. Nailed it. Yeah, I think one of the other things I've reviewed on this show was about Jeff in a
fortress,
in a big prison.
Yeah. That was the episode.
In fact, he also had a thing that could kill him implanted under his skin in that as well, didn't
That's true, he did, yes. See, it's all linked.
Well,
in the Jeffrey Combs megaverse. That was the episode where Alistair didn't know who Jeffrey Combs was for the entirety of the film when he watched it, and only realised that Jeffrey Combs was not Michael Ironside when we recorded the episode.
That's right.
Miss you, Al. The head of Scorpio is this fake-sounding British guy. And I don't mean that he sounds like a fake person. I mean he sounds like a fake British accent.
Got it. Yeah.
It's such a British accent. It sounds like someone doing an impression of a fancy British man. This turns out to be Christopher Neame.
Well, we don't ever see this person, though.
No,
right?
but it does turn... But I looked it up.
Okay.
Who, most notably to me, summoned Christopher Lee's Dracula back to life in Dracula AD 1972. He plays a character with the wonderful name of Johnny Alucard.
Oh.
Which, if you spell that backwards...
Dracula?
But
he summons Dracula back to life.
Yes.
But his name is Dracula backwards.
His name is Dracula backwards, yes.
That's weird.
So he's playing the One.
Who's the head of Scorpio?
Yeah. Shady kind of...
Yeah. We see his silhouette behind a glass thing.
Well, yeah, mostly he's just a voice on like a radio or a walkie-talkie giving out stern directions.
Yeah.
Do you want to know what that actor's name was?
Didn't you tell me?
No.
Oh.
No, remember? We made bets, and then I couldn't find it in my notes.
Oh, okay. Yeah, her. Well, let's see who got closest.
I don't think either of us.
Oh, okay.
Gretchen Egolf.
Yes, Gretchen Egolf.
That's a much more normal name than
I don't
either of
know.
us thought.
I don't know. It's pretty weird. I've never heard Egolf as a surname.
Well, Egolf, I have to assume, is it's for when you win.
Sure.
It's for when you win an Emmy, a Grammy, an Oscar, a Latin Grammy, and a
free Slurpee at 7-Eleven.
I was going to say a Fangoria Chainsaw Award, but that's also fun.
Has anybody released a tie-in Dracula-themed Slurpee type thing where you drink the Slurpee through some fangs that sort of stick into the top of the cup, and then under the fangs there are straws that go down into the Slurpee, but you are able to sort of put your mouth on the top of it and go like you are, and it is obviously like red liquid or whatever in there.
Fun fact, when I was a kid, that's how I thought vampires drank. I thought that they made the holes with their teeth and then sucked it up through their teeth like straws.
What, do they not?
No.
Oh, they make the holes with their teeth and then they just drink it through their mouth like they're sucking, like they've popped open a
Well, they would have to.
fruit box.
You can't suck through teeth.
Well, but
through teeth.
I until you said it right that second, that's what I assumed they did.
No, they would have to. You would make the holes and then you would just like like slurp it through. That was a horrible noise. I'm sorry, listener.
I bet there are some vampires in the lore who do suck it up through little holes in their teeth.
I have to assume the only Dracula that does that is Leslie Nielsen's in Dracula Dead and Loving It, because he makes the straw sucking sound. Maybe that's why I thought it. Look,
well, this is blowing my whole world wide open.
Oh, look, if there's any vampires out there, call in. Let us know how you suck. So the Scorpio gang want $1 billion, or they're going to detonate their electromagnetic bullshit over LA.
And again, just a terrible bit of exposition where it's it's like the actors. The characters are sentient and aware that they're in a TV show, and they are pointing out the flaws in the plot as they go. It's like the thing with the car. They can't help but point it out. They're stepping out of the reality because Gretchen Egolf, I think I was pretty close with Helmling Flob or whatever it was that I said.
Definitely a couple of common letters in there.
Yes, thank you. She says, "Why are you contacting us and not the government? We're just the police."
Yeah.
Where the one is taking over their computers and calling them directly from the computer screen to demand $1 billion a month.
$1 billion a day.
Was it a day? I was pretty sure it was a month.
Pretty sure it was a day, because I remember thinking that's a lot of money.
I think $1 billion a month is a lot of money.
$1 billion a day
Maybe
is even
not to
more.
You. Oh, okay.
Maybe not to me. Yeah, you don't know me.
But and she's like, why are you telling us this? And I can't remember what he says, but it was something like, you can't even get through to the government these days, or something. You know what it's like trying to call the government on the phone.
Oh, you know,
Genuinely, I think that was him.
Been trying to get in touch with Clinton?
Yeah.
98, 99? Yeah, no, I think that there was also something about the fact that they wanted Sammo hung. They wanted Sammo Law to deal with it as well. There seems to be some sort of begrudging respect for Sammo Law within the Scorpio gang. Grace also she's working undercover. So Grace is working undercover. She's trying to get in with the Scorpio gang as a fighter, but she is also fucking the recruitment guy. Yeah. Dangerous.
Who's that recruitment guy? So there's this blonde guy who is the main face of Scorpio that we see. Mm-hmm. Even though I don't think he directly works for Scorpio, he's just recruiting fighters for them for some sort of fighting activity that they seem to do. I recognise this actor. Who is it?
That is Kyle. He is played by Neil McDonough.
What's he been in?
Minority Report. And
there you go.
Captain America, the First Avenger.
Oh, really?
I mean, he's done a lot of stuff. Very, very strong eyes and face.
Yeah, but a handsome man.
If you like rugged good looks, I don't. I like them squirrely. So as we mentioned, they take him to this like little cabin in the woods to hole out.
They take Jeff to this little cabin.
Yes.
So Sammo and Arsenio Hall take Jeff to this cabin in the woods where they set up a Home Alone style series of traps to allow them to defeat the Scorpios
who are coming
to get them. We've skipped over the first fight scene, which is where there's a whole lot of prison guards who are also apparently Scorpio guys who run up and then they beat the crap out of them. And then this is sort of our next big sort of punch-on scene.
Where they fight with their homemade weapons.
Jeff spends the whole time sort of like trash-talking them and saying, how are you going to defeat the guys with those ice skates and that box of firecrackers and this and that.
You losers.
Yeah. And this was one where it was like, that feels like it plays out over and over again, just him sort of saying these little needling lines at the same time as talking about how terrifying Scorpio is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he keeps on really hammering home how powerful Scorpio, how he is, how they'll have no chance up against them. And they defeat the Scorpio guys pretty fucking easily.
Yeah. It's a real sort of Ewoks in, the Empire Strikes Back or whatever that film was.
Don't get the reference, but Home Alone, yes.
Yeah, just to hit, there's a moose head on the end of a string that swings down, hits a guy in the head.
And people get knocked out very easily. They just go bonk on the head and then they're down. And
again, not well filmed scenes.
No, kind of boring.
Yeah. Sammo, hits a guy around the head with an oar.
Yeah, like a rowing oar,
A rowing oar. That could have been funny, I guess.
I mean, maybe if they'd had some, like, comedic sound effects.
Yeah.
Boyoyoing.
I need a boyoyoing. Where's my boyoyoing?
Yeah. Splat, etc. I mean, part of the evidence of how bad the writing is in this show is that Terrell non-ironically uses the term concrete jungle, which is not a phrase that people use. Journalists and bad screenwriters use the term concrete jungle. And maybe bad songwriters, but nobody ever actually says that. I don't even think they said it in 1999.
Yeah. Is he saying it about, like, we're not in the concrete jungle anymore or something?
Oh, he says something about how he likes living in the city because it's not the woods or something like that.
Yeah.
Again, it's all very bad. Jeff is good here. He does get pretty creepy at times, you know, when he's being especially menacing. He appears to get this sort of perverse thrill out of the idea of being tortured by Samo and Terrell.
Yeah.
As evidenced, you know, if you listen to him here, you can get a sense of that.
Every part of you wants to hurt me. Shove splinters underneath my fingernails, peel back my skin, inflict whatever pain you can to crack me open. But you're so bound by the strictures of your society. You're such a puppet of their wills that you can't cross the line to get the thing you want the most.
There's a scene where Kyle is drowning a lackey in his kitchen sink for information. The lackey tells Kyle that Grace is a cop. Kyle kicks him out. He's like, oh, I don't know what to do with this information. And he goes back to doing what he must have been doing right before that, which is whisking an egg for an omelette. Because, you know, you got to have breakfast.
You got to. You can't crime boss on an empty stomach.
You can't. You know, you need the various veggies and calcium in eggs.
Oh, yeah, you need the calcium.
This is also sort of what the Kyle and Grace relationship sounds like. Again, terrible writing, no chemistry between these two. It's all very, very awful.
They know you're a cop.
So do you, which means that you know that I was here to take down both of you.
Then why don't you? Look great on your jacket busting a big crime boss, right?
You're no crime boss. You just said that bust would look good on my jacket. Cop talk. I could find out who you really are, but I don't have the time.
You in a hurry?
I just want to know who I'm in bed with.
Kyle Stratton, FBI.
What are you doing here?
Same thing you're doing, trying to bust in on Scorpio.
Well, you're not doing a very good job now, are
They're
you?
doing a damn fine job till you showed up.
Saving me just blew your cover. Why'd you do it?
She is, doesn't seem like a great actor, but to her credit, she also seems like a terrible martial artist. Like, we're supposed to believe that she's this incredible fighter, and it is this kind of style of on-screen fighting that I think you saw probably a lot around this era, where there's a lot of very high kicks, a lot of people kicking right up around the head of one another and then taking pretty big pauses in between kicks to reset and do another big kick at somebody's head. She defeats some other woman who's apparently auditioning to be a fighter who was raised in an orphanage.
Like, kicking that high up, like, it looks fine on screen, but again, you have to shoot it properly, otherwise it just looks like someone's just doing a big stretch, like a cat.
Yeah, it's a big stretch, big cat stretch.
Ooh, a big stretch. Thwack.
Yeah, so, I mean, her plotline is that she's trying to infiltrate the fighting, the recruitment side of this thing with this guy who she apparently has some pre-existing relationship with, so that she can then get into Scorpio and find out about the electromagnetic pulse, which is going to, like, shut down LA.
It's too late for that. They've got like 8 hours to stop them.
Yeah.
Like, it's too late for this infiltrating shit.
Too late to infiltrate.
Exactly. That's what I always say.
Yeah.
But it turns out that Kyle is FBI, so I guess it's fine that they're sleeping together. Jeff cuts a deal with the cops in the end. He's like, I'll give you information on Scorpio because I've already given you a bunch of information anyway, and they're going to kill me now because of that.
Yeah,
so you might as well save me.
Very quickly, he's not scared of them, but he is scared of Scorpio. And when they sort of cunningly trick him or convince him that he's already given them too much information that's allowed them to defeat this spider team of 8 people who are coming to get them in this cabin in the woods.
Yeah.
He immediately becomes a little simpering, gibbering little wreck.
Oh, yeah. Very
begs
pathetic.
for mercy and says, I'm going to tell you everything I know.
Yeah. Does he say that they're called the spider team because there's like 8 points on a compass?
Why, I assume because there's 8 legs on a spider.
Because when they're getting the information out of him, he's like, because he says something about a compass, and then he's like, because of the points on a compass. And it's like, there's only 4 points on a compass. That's half a spider.
There's northwest, southwest, I guess there's those points. But then there's also north-northwest and southwest-west and all this south-southwest. So actually there's an almost infinite number of points on a compass. So
you're always
it's
saying
meaningless. It's meaningless. It's more meaningless garbage.
More bullshit. Spider Team is fine because
$2 million this episode cost.
I assume that's just going straight into Arsenio Hall's pockets. That's how we got that really nice car in that
I
scene.
wonder if his Tonight Show was still on during this time.
Yeah, I was thinking...
What happened to that? Because it seemed like it was quite a big cultural thing for a moment there, and then it stopped existing, and we never heard about Arsenio Hall again.
It had its time.
All things must pass.
All things must pass. That's
must pass.
Yep, that's how you say that phrase.
All things must pass.
Maybe he could bring it back, because there is a sort of a boon in like that sort of talk show thing.
I think people would be really excited.
Yeah. Because there is a lot of 80s and 90s nostalgia around at the moment, and people love a talk show. So what follows Jeffrey's admission, they take him back to the office to question him, and in trying to escape, he either falls or jumps off the balcony.
Oh, he definitely jumps. He tries to kill himself.
Does he? Yeah,
Yeah,
okay.
I think it's because he's scared of Scorpio. He throws himself over the building, and there's a really, really badly green screen shot of him falling to his death.
So bad. It is one of the worst green screen things I've ever fucking seen.
Yes.
It looks so stupid.
This has got to be like 5 years after they did it in Die Hard with Hans Gruber falling off the building, and this is just unimaginably worse.
No, Die Hard's like 87, isn't it?
Oh, right. Okay, so 10 years.
At least.
Yeah.
No, I mean, most green screen before this looks better than this. Like,
maybe they'd run out of money by this end of the season. Maybe that's why this is so bad, and it's all sort of...
I mean, look, I don't know how many times I need to say this to you, dear listener. Always go practical. Don't CG things.
Actually throw Jeffrey Combs off the building.
Find a way to do it. Find a way to do it safely. Don't hurt the boy. Green screen's fine, but I don't know. And even the pose he was doing at the time was really silly. He was like in a prayer pose.
Yeah.
Anyway, it was very strange, but also it looked terrible.
But then they somehow they've got one of the radios of the baddies, the Scorpio team, and despite these Scorpio guys being so incredibly technologically advanced that they can hack into the police's computers and just talk to people out of a screen, they're able to immediately work out their location by sort of reversing the signal on this radio and get to exactly where they're trying to set off this pulse from, and walk in and beat up all the guys.
They figure it out quick smart.
Yeah. And there's no intermediate scenes at that as well. It's like literally I don't think there's even an establishing shot. I think it's we could use this to reverse engineer the thing, and then next thing they're walking straight through the door, not of the building, but of the room that they're in.
Yeah.
They walk straight into the room.
It's it's very strange. There isn't even really any scenes of like anyone doing anything. Like there's no one like at a computer who's like typing. Like every scene is just people standing around talking
about something,
and then the thing just happens
yes.
or has happened, or there's like a really bad like fight scene, which is generally over pretty quickly.
Also, another point, as well as Samo not really being able to do his fighting thing to the best of his ability because it's not shot well, and despite him sort of performing in a sort of comic way, it not being funny, Arsenio Hall doesn't have any funny lines. He's sort of saying lines as if they're a little bit funny, but really not, and he doesn't even look like he's particularly trying to sell them comedically. Yeah,
because that's the thing. Like, if you are going for that Rush Hour kind of vibe of like the fastest hands in the East versus the fastest mouth in the West.
Yeah.
You have to, because Samo is very dour, so that character has to be funny and quick, or at least jovial in some way.
Yeah, they don't have a funny relationship as well. There's nothing going on. There's no dynamic.
No, there's no chemistry.
I quite liked Arsenio's presence. It felt like he could have done it.
Yeah.
It just didn't.
Yeah, I don't know. Look, I don't know enough about him as an actor, whether he is able to elevate bad material in that way. I don't think so, because this is very bad material and he doesn't do anything with it. But you're right, there is often the inflection of a sort of like one-liner, but it's not.
No, just bald statements.
Yeah.
Or we're in the room, the one is behind some glass, he's lit with red stuff, they've beaten up everybody else. He talks to them from behind the glass and he reveals that he's got Samo's son there with him, who hates him apparently. He talks to him and then they walk off. They chase them out of the building. The limo explodes. He thinks his son's dead, but he's not. There's only one body in there. And then the episode's over.
Pretty much, yeah. I mean, and Kyle seemingly betrays Grace.
But then I don't think
he
really does. I think he's still sort of on her side.
It's not really clear. Yeah, and then I guess, and maybe the blackout weapons were just disarmed and everything's fine. And then they have the Rush Hour thing of having the little martial arts bloopers over
but
the
they're
credits.
really bad bloopers. There's nothing happening there. It's just Samo standing there waving his oar around, wiggling it in the air.
Because at least the bloopers on something like Rush Hour are funny.
Yeah.
There's a lot of times when a blooper is just an outtake.
Right.
Because that's the difference, I guess. A blooper is like a funny outtake. An outtake is just a take that didn't work. It's like they flubbed a line, or they weren't on the mark properly.
Or it's just a little bit that they shot after. It's just the tail end of a take or something.
Yeah. Whereas a blooper is meant to be like something funny happened, or they flubbed it in a funny way.
I looked up Sammo Hung, and his career has like gone on, and it looks like he's made some really sick films.
Yeah.
Like up until really recently, like he is still making martial arts films, filming fight scenes.
Yeah.
They look great. It's just, this is just obviously a point at which they hadn't built up the skills that they needed and the awareness and the understanding of how to deal with this style of performance and this kind of performer.
Because there was a lot of, in the way that different cultures become a little bit fetishized in Hollywood. And, there was a little bit of that. I guess you'd call it like Orientalism, where there's a lot of people taking like hair chopsticks and things, like just taking things from certain cultures.
To their credit, there wasn't too much of that. There just wasn't too much of anything. I think even that would have involved too much work or thought. I watched Rush Hour, I rewatched Rush Hour relatively recently, and it holds up. It's a great film.
It is really fun.
So just watch Rush Hour instead.
Yeah. Put your time into that.
They nailed it.
Yeah. So that's martial law.
That's martial law. Thank you for listening. Jeff was great in it.
He was.
It was good to see his little face.
It's such a good face.
Yeah, he did good.
Anything to plug, Andy Matthews?
My podcast, Two in the Think Tank, with Alistair Tremblay-Birchall, where we come up with 5 sketch ideas. It's just goofy, silly fun.
It is goofy, silly fun. I enjoy it.
Thank you.
And do you have any projects coming? Are you on socials much?
Not really, no.
No? Yeah, that's a good idea.
That's it, just listen to the podcast.
That's where you get all the intel on.
Or buy my book, Gustav and Henry. If you go to gustavandhenry.com, you can buy my children's book for young readers. It's a graphic novel I did with my friend Pete.
It is, yes, it is very cute for readers of all ages, but I guess mostly children.
Yeah.
But it is also nice for adults who like nice things.
That's it.
Thank you, Andy.
Thank you, Lisa. I had fun.